Have you ever witnessed someone tell someone a joke that was so bad that afterwards they could never look that person in the eye ever again? Okay, if you don't like that kind of humor, you should go now, or just mute the television if you want to see the video. I'm going to give you 10 seconds from when I say the word go to mute the television. I will wait. I'll tell my joke, and then I'll give you a thumbs up so you can unmute the television if you want. And go. What's the hardest thing about being a rapist? My penis. It was just a joke. It was just a joke. Okay. I'm done with the joke. Sorry, guys. I couldn't help myself with that one. So, what's up, weirdos? Scott here. Thanks again for visiting the channel. As always, I appreciate it. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you for watching. I'm sure you're probably gone now, but I hope you enjoy the content. If you wouldn't mind, do me a favor, follow me on Instagram at lets_do-it-up, LETS_DOITUP on Instagram. And if you'd like to send a knife or knives into the channel for review, just send me an email at letsdiu79@gmail.com, letsdiu79gmail.com. If you send me the knife, sorry, if you send me send me an email or send me my shipping address, you can send me the knife or knives. I will spend a week or two with them, review them, and then send them back to you. So a couple things before we get started. First things first, I'm doing a video today reviewing or updating my 10 most favorite knives in my collection, which I did 3 or 4, maybe 5 months back, and that collection or that group of knives has changed quite a bit in that time. So I figured I'd do an update on that. This guy is kind of just like an honorary mention sort of thing. I don't want to count this in my collection of my favorite knives in my collection, just because it's the only Safe Queen that I have in my house, that I own rather. It's the only knife that I don't use. I just keep it here for, you know, I don't want to call it I don't want to call it emotional value. I don't know why I keep coming up with that word, but it's sentimental. That's why I'm keeping it, because I'm glad that I was able to purchase this knife and have it. It's a beautiful, beautiful knife. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that you guys should be really, really proud of me, because I came up with that thumbnail just by accident. I think it looks really fucking cool. I was just kind of playing around with the lighting a little bit, just because I know this knife looks different in different lighting, so I figured I'd see what it looked like. And I was able to come up with a combination of lighting after quite a bit of playing around with it to make it look that way, and it looked really fucking cool. I didn't do any filters or anything on that picture. That's just lighting and my camera, and that's it, which again is not a huge accomplishment for normal people, but for somebody who doesn't really I'm not exactly a technophile, so I've never really done anything like that. I was kind of like, when I finally got to see the way it looked on the camera there, I felt kind of like Tom Hanks. I was like, I have made fire. I was like, that's so fucking cool. So I hope you guys like the picture too. If you do, let me know. I don't do a lot of stuff to improve the channel, which I should. I just don't have the time to. But when I kind of just stumble across something that works really, really well, and it's a little bit time consuming, but now I know that works to make the channel look a little bit better, then from that point forward I kind of fucking have to do it. So if you guys are enjoying that a little more than my normal thumbnails, please let me know so that I can kind of keep moving with that. But I just want to get rid of this for a second. I might need this flashlight later, but just in case. So before I show you this knife too much, I want to put my gloves on, and Metal Complex always feels the need to do this, and I don't know why he would be wrong, but I just want to let everybody know I'm not putting these gloves on because this knife is delicate in any way. It's just because it's so beautiful the way it's finished. The oils from my skin will make it look like caca. So I just want to avoid that. These gloves are filthy. They're my Mickey Mouse gloves. I only use them for, like, you know, when I'm handling really delicate parts of knives or something like that. I don't want to drop them or lose them or anything like that. I kind of try to keep everything contained within my gloves here. So I just wanted to show off this guy for a few minutes, just because this, I mean, this is not paint, guys. These lines streaking down, this is just micro-milled titanium with a highly polished DLC finish on it. I don't know how close I can get to the camera and still be able to show this to you, but yeah, this is probably my favorite knife in my collection as far as you know, just showpieces. I don't necessarily mean that I display this or anything like that, but if one of my buddies comes over or whatever, I always show it to him just because it's such a beautiful knife. The Mokitai pocket clip on this guy is absolutely stunning. It's amazing to me, like, how just, I haven't really cleaned this knife in a very long time. I kind of just keep it in my knife case, which I still have to show you guys, but I haven't gotten that video prepared yet. I will have that prepared shortly. But yeah, the Mokitai on this thing is absolutely gorgeous. But when I took a little bit of, just a tiny bit of Windex and I cleaned everything off, this knife just got so much more brilliant than it already is. You can see that kind of geared backspacer there, how lustrous that is. I mean, just it's so shiny. I don't know how they did this finish, but I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I forgot to clean out the inside of the knife. My goodness. And then you've also got the aggressive, just crazy blade here, which in my opinion is absolutely gorgeous. A lot of people, you know, don't really care about grind lines, but I absolutely find them gorgeous, especially when they're kind of, you know, you've got some contrast here. You've got some lines going horizontally. You've got some lines going horizontally. You've got some lines going vertically, and that just really creates a really nice contrast, especially up in this swedge here. Then you've got obviously this aggressive clip point, and then this nice big beefy blade with that big belly, deep hollow grind, very aggressive hollow grind, gets very thin at the tip. But you can just see how beautiful this knife is, as to why I don't use or carry this under any circumstances. I don't want anything bad to happen to this knife. So I will get rid of this. It's one of my favorite parts of this knife right here. Love that sound. I would show you like a good demonstration of how good the action is and everything, but I don't want to get it all mucked up, and I don't want to do it with my gloves on, because then catastrophe will ensue. Okay, so let's get started. The first ones I want to show you guys, now there are going to be multiple knives in some of these knives that I show you. So if there is a particular group of knives in my collection that I like a lot, or I really care about and I'm never going to get rid of, then that's also what I'm going to show you today. So I think these are the first knives I showed on my channel, actually. If you go all the way back there, I don't know why you would, because it's awful. But my collection of PM2s was the first, what do you want to call it? The first real set of knives that I showed on my channel. I had gotten all of these from River's Edge Cutlery, and this is the order in which I got them. I got the Arctic Frost carbon fiber, and these are all fat carbon. And I also got the, what was this, Jungle fat carbon, and then we've got the Lava Flow. Those all came from River's Edge Cutlery. And this one is my Tanto version. I'm not sure if those are all on the screen there, but just in case, move this up a little bit. Okay. So yeah, so these four are my favorite set, my favorite paramilitary 2s in my collection. I think I have 11 or 12 of them so far. But yeah, you can see that good. But I really love the paramilitary 2. It's probably my favorite knife in my collection that is as far as simple, to the point, utilitarian tool that you can dress up a little bit if you want to. I think it's great. These aren't very expensive knives. They're pretty expensive for somebody that isn't in the knife community, but to me, these are kind of right at the area of my budget range, I guess I would say, for myself, not for anybody else. So everybody knows about the paramilitary 2. You can obviously get multiple different variants. I've got the Tonto here, which I actually had to buy this off the secondary market. Blade HQ hasn't come out with any more of these in a long time. A buddy of mine actually at work, he's like, oh, I saw some at these website and they're for sale. And I was like, well, that's not true. So we went and he opened up the website. I can't remember the name of the website, but he's like, oh yeah, he's like, here they are. They're all available, different variants, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay. I said, you see that Blade HQ symbol behind it on the picture? He's like, yeah. I was like, that means it's not real, man. He's like, he took it from Blade HQ's website, posted the picture on his website, and now he's selling a picture. A lot of people don't know that happens, but it does. So if you see like a Blade HQ background and you're buying a knife on some obscure site that you've never seen before, chances are you don't want to do that. But anyway, this one actually was the, what is it, Knife Center? No, not Knife Center. Knives Ship Free, maybe? No. I can't remember. Oh my god, I'm such an asshole. So I bought this one. It was an exclusive for... God bless America. It might have been Knife Ship Free. I can't remember. Their logo is Stay Sharp, but I can't remember... Anyway, this was an exclusive that they get from Spyderco. Their Wharncliffe blade, which is awesome. I love the aesthetics on this knife. I love the way it fits in the hand. The Paramilitary 2 is a very ergonomically friendly knife, as everyone just about in the knife community knows, unless you just got here. And if somebody hasn't offered you a PM2 to hold yet or whatever, and you know somebody in the community, then it's only a matter of time. So somebody's going to try to get you to hold a PM2. If you want, if you don't like it and you think that they're ugly, just test it out. Just give it a feel how it feels in the hand, feel how the action is and how it works, and try to get used to it a little bit and see if maybe you'll like it, because that's what happened to me. I fucking hated Spydercos when I started collecting knives. But these are the first knives that I really started collecting. Before that, I was getting like CGRBs every once in a while, this, that, and the other, and I was kind of starting to collect here and there, but I think when I really committed to it was when I got these particular knives. I really like the Arctic Frost one. That's my favorite, and that was the first one I ever bought. So the scales on here obviously are not the same that came on this knife. These knives all came out in M4. I actually got rid of one of my M4 blades, and the other one is right here, I think, maybe? I can't remember. Yeah, M4 on the green one. Okay. So that is... Now, these are in no particular order, by the way. So this doesn't mean that these are my least favorite knives in my group of favorite knives in my collection. But next up is one of my new favorites. This is the Hinderer XM-24. The reason this one is my favorite is because I've wanted an XM, or one of my favorite knives in my collection is because I've wanted an XM-24 in my collection for as long as I can remember. Not like right when I got into the community, but not long after. I saw Metal Complex messing with some of his Hinderers, and I kind of just, I really like the aesthetic of them. I didn't fall in love with them the way he did, obviously, because I didn't have one. But once I got one, obviously my joy and my appreciation for them increased exponentially, but I still don't think that I am anywhere near Metal Complex's level as far as joy for Rick Hinderer and his League of Knives. These are absolutely beautiful knives, absolutely love them, but I've done a lot to this knife. I got rid of the pocket, I didn't get rid of the, but I replaced the pocket clip and the filler tab here with some bronze inserts. I got the bronze hardware pack, and I also got a natural micarta scale for this, which I applied some oil to darken it up. So it just kind of looks like a badass knife to me. I think this is really, really gorgeous. I love the way the colors contrast here. I'd like to try to find out if they make like the female version of this screw or this pivot with the bronze accenting on it. And I'd also like to get some bronze screws for this, and I might do that at some point. I'm not sure. But just this is a hard use everyday knife that never gets old. It's never gonna break on you unless you use it for something that you shouldn't be using it for. And obviously the action on this thing is fucking fantastic. I mean, this is a big fucking knife, and everything is completely solid. There's no wiggle in the blade or anything like that. And for me to be able to reverse flick this with my finger, I've got some nerve damage in my hands. I've also got some nerve damage upstairs, obviously. Got some brain damage. But that happened when I was in the military. So I've got some nerve damage here, and actually some of the brain damage is some of the result of the way that I talk sometimes. Like, so I'll be okay on a good thought, and I'll be going and going and going, and then all of a sudden I'll just lose it. Or sometimes when I'm wanting to talk about a subject, I'll have trouble recalling things about it, or specific words, actually. So if you guys notice that a lot, I apologize. That is due to a brain injury that occurred while I was in the military. Anyway. So anyway, I really love the XM-24. I like the XM-18 a lot too, and I also love my Project X as well. But I will have to say, just in this configuration, the way that it looks and the way that it feels, I really think that this is definitely my favorite Hinderer in my collection for sure. Love the action on it. D10 is perfectly tuned for you to be able to use it however you want to. Damn it, I don't know if I'm keeping these on camera. I think I am. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So next up on the list, there's going to be 3 knives here, and these are my favorite knives in my collection in this particular instance because of the RAM-LOK. I absolutely love the RAM-LOK. It's so comfortable. It's so easy to use. It's got the ease of Benchmade's Axis lock. It's a little bit easier to grip, and it's a little bit easier to actuate, and the blade kind of rides on the tang. The tang kind of rides on the lock itself a little bit smoother, in my opinion, than it does on an Axis lock. So this was the first one that Microtech released. This is the Microtech MSI. You can see here from 10/20/23. It's got all the bells and whistles on it, including the printing on the blade. We've got a little emblem here with the M390. So this is another great example of innovation, people stepping it up, things like that. Microtech wasn't the first to put a coil lock into a spring, or into a coil spring into a lock like this. But I think, in my opinion, they definitely made it better than the Axis lock. Just my opinion. You don't have to get angry about it. Nice milled G10 here. Filler tab for the other side. It is a ambidextrous knife. Truly ambidextrous because you've got the lock on there and you've also got the reversible pocket clip. Great action on the MSI. The Amphibian, much larger model. This thing actually, I mean, come on, look at it. It's almost comically large. It's just, I mean, in my opinion, it kind of looks like the devil's cock. But that's just my opinion. So again, nicely milled G10 fluting there. I like the pocket clip on these guys a little bit better than the ones that they put on the MSI and the stitch here. I just like this pocket clip a little bit better than just the stamp ones that they use. But again, the Axis lock, or I'm sorry, why am I wanting to call it the Axis lock? Jesus Christ. So the Microtech, Jesus, I lost it. The Microtech, oh boy, RAM-LOK. Jesus, guys, I apologize. Microtech RAM-LOK works much better than the Axis lock does. Big old hairy blade, nice recurve on it, just nice solid straight flat grinds. I love the thumb studs on this guy, but the key to this is my stitch. I've wanted to stitch ever since I can remember, again, but this is one of the coolest knives in the community, in my opinion. It's kind of like a staple, I think. These are just one of the knives that just everybody wants. But I didn't want one in the automatic. I would have rather had it in manual. So for years, I just didn't buy one, and I didn't really have the money for it anyway. Now I'm not saying I would have bought it if I had the money, but I didn't. So once they came out with the manual, I got very excited. Right after the MSI came out, they released the manual stitch. So I started hunting for it, and I think maybe 9 months later. 8-9 months later, I finally found one on sale and I was able to buy it. So that just goes to show you, don't get too wrapped up in when things are being released and being the first to experience something and the FOMO and all that other bullshit. Don't worry about that. If you see something you love and it truly, truly matters, you will eventually handle it. Microtechs are a big part of that in my collecting experience. I've wanted them for a long time, only started being able to acquire them recently. But the RAM-LOK line in Microtech are definitely my, some of my favorite knives in my collection for sure. So next up, we're going to have, I put an OTF into the mix, but last year I think I had a couple of them. This year I only really want to say one, but I want to show you both of these because this one is definitely my favorite as far as carrying every day. I don't carry this every day, but I would if all I carried was an OTF every day. This would be the one that I would carry. However, I also love this guy. This is my absolute favorite OTF. But the Microtech, the Microtech SCARAB is not something that you can just whip out in public and be like, you're going to borrow nothing like, hey, here, buddy, there you go, and they're going to run away from you. So my preference to carry outside and carry all the time is this guy, the EMPEDC Pulse automatic knife. Very easy to actuate, very easy to deploy, very easy to disengage. The pocket clip works fantastic. It's nicely milled to match up with the scales. They did make an American version of this, but I have the Chinese version, which I'm perfectly fine with. Love the way the switch is, it just glides around in there. You've got grease on it, but there's no rubbing. There's no anything. I don't know if this is on bearings or what's going on in there. I haven't taken this one apart in particular. The only one I've taken apart is my Troodon. That was just to kind of get all the gunk out of there. It had all kinds of shit locked up in it because I accidentally put regular oil in when I first got it because I was an idiot. So, definitely love OTFs. I love all of the OTFs in my collection, but my favorite OTF to carry in my collection is my EMPEDC Pulse. You can get these. They do drop periodically, so this is not something that's necessarily unobtainable, but very, very good everyday carry OTF in my opinion. The SCARAB 2 also beautifully built, well built, sturdy, strong. I don't know that I could ever break it. But it's a little too big and aggressive for people. I do like the way the button works on this one a lot better, which I just fucked up. So that was my fault, not the knife. So yeah, I do like this button better than on the Combat Troodon or my Dirac Delta. It's much easier to use, and I love the grippy shit on here. Just everything about the knife, the little SCARAB beetle there. This is such a cool fucking looking knife, but not many people out in the public would appreciate it. So that's why I can't really say this is my favorite OTF in my collection. Next up, somebody we're going to give a shot to. So this is a little bit of a tricky one for me. Actually, the detent's a little tougher now, but that's okay. I can live with that. So a buddy of mine bought the same knife here, only he bought it with the carbon fiber inserts. This is the MANGANAS steel CHAIMANO. An awesome, awesome, awesome knife. Very well built. Very, very good action, good ergonomics. Slicey looking knife, just aggressive with that poon there. Love the poon. I did not clean this off because I wanted to show you guys that I do actually use this knife quite often. But I've had to make an adjustment to it, which not that big of a deal, but my buddies gave me his because he had just ever so slight lock rock on his. When you had it fully deployed, you let the lock engage naturally. He could play with his and it would kind of not move, but just ever so slightly wiggle. Just wiggle it. Just a little bit. You could barely feel it. So I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. So I brought it home. I took it apart. I cleaned everything. I oiled everything. And I put it back together before I fucked with anything. Then it was still happening. I mean, you could barely notice it. The lock was actually touching the lock face, but it wasn't compressed. It wasn't compressed onto it hard enough to keep it from moving at all. It was barely noticeable. So I think I tried taking it apart and putting it back together 3 or 4 times, and it was exactly the same every single time. So this was a chronic problem. I'm going to clean this off a little because it just looks gross to me. But so once I did that, I realized I had to do something with the lock bar. So I disassembled it and I started kind of just putting some pressure going into the direction of the lock bar, just to give it a little bit of a forward push to bring the lock bar over slightly. This does not mean that I put it into a vise and I was fucking pulling on it. I just kind of gently used my thumbs to spend some time just rocking it back and forth, just to give it a little push to the side. And I did about as much as I was prepared to do, as I was willing to do, especially with somebody else's knife. And I put it back together for the last time, and it was still wiggling just a little bit. I don't really understand why, but you know, it was what it was. And he said, I barely notice it. I can hardly even tell. So I'm not that worried about it. So then I got home. This was probably 2-3 weeks ago. I don't know. But I forgot about it when I got home. So I never looked at this knife after I got home. But I know for a fact that when I put this back in the case a little while ago, that there was not that issue. I check my knives every time I put them back. It's just I'm a little bit OCD. But I brought it out and I started cleaning it because I wanted to put it in this video, just to make sure it wasn't covered in dust and all that other bullshit. And as I was kind of manipulating it and moving it around, I kind of felt a tiny little, almost like a little knock. So I was like, what the hell? So I opened the blade and I took it and I wiggled it back and forth, and I had the exact same tiny little wiggle, and I don't remember ever feeling it before, but I can imagine there is some galaxy, universe, wherever, somewhere where I could have missed it. So maybe mine was doing the same thing, but I got really nervous, and I did the same thing with my knife. And I don't know if maybe since it was my knife, I was willing to go a little bit further with the lock bar. I didn't want to fuck up somebody else's knife. So I don't know if that was the case or not, but I pushed mine over probably a little further than I should have. And now it's perfectly fine. It's still locking up at about, I'd say 25%, maybe 35%. But the little tiny little nicky knock is gone. So I'm happy with that. I took the knife out of the collection and put something else in there just because I didn't feel like I could use it until I knew for sure that that was a solvable issue, which I knew it was, but I didn't want to come on here and say that I really love this knife, but there's a problem with it, and not have a solution to it. If it was 2 knives in a row that had the same issue and I couldn't fix it, I didn't want to show it that way. I wanted to talk to Reeve first and see if there was something that they've heard about going on with that. But I was able to fix mine, so I kind of feel like somewhere in the production, they might have had a little bit of an issue with having the lock bar not pushed over far enough. But this is not really something that he should be required to do anything about, in my opinion. But people fucking freak out. They hear something, and if somebody doesn't say, well, don't take this too seriously, but this happened, they're gonna get, oh my god, that this guy is falling. So I know we live in that world. I didn't want to do that, so I just wanted to make sure I could fix the problem, which I did. And I was really excited that I could, because I really wanted to be able to show off this knife on camera. This is a beautiful knife. I love the way he ground this blade. I love the way he designed this knife all the way around, but I love these little mill marks here on the lock bar there. I like the way that he milled the pocket clip, just very simple, direct. And that little hump there, it goes in and out of the pocket very, very easily. I love the fact that he geared the backspacer on this guy, and this is all titanium and micarta. Just a very nice knife on bearings, but this, again, is one of my new favorite knights in my collection, just because of the action. The detent on it is perfectly tuned. It's effortless to use. It's gorgeous to look at. Love this opening hole. Love the poon. There's so many things about this knife that I absolutely love. amongst most of what I love about this knife is definitely the appearance of this blade. For sure, for sure. All right, let's move on. Sorry, guys. This is probably going to take a little while. So my next one, I think this is no surprise to anybody, but my Berg Blades Barber in Damasteel. I mean, just look at how gorgeous that is. That is such a beautiful blade, guys. I love the titanium. I love the finish on the titanium. You can see here that I dropped it the other day. That's not a huge deal to me. I can get that refinished if I really need to, but this is still definitely one of my favorite knives in my collection. Love the black along with the bronze accents, especially on these thumb studs here. I love the way he did the thumb studs on this guy for sure. But you can see just all these different layers in the Damasteel here. I love the way Damasteel looks after it's been etched. But I did have an issue with this blade, actually. There was some spots over on this side, right in this area here. He wasn't sure exactly how it happened, but I couldn't get it off. So he told me to send it back. He refinished it, polished it, and sent it back to me. And now it looks absolutely gorgeous. But this knife is an absolute fidget machine. It's so much fun to play with. I can even just, I don't know why, I probably shouldn't do this, but I'll kind of like sit there in the car with my hand hanging out the window, and I'll just flick this guy back and forth incessantly. And my wife's just like, you know, you're going to drop that. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to drop it eventually, so I should probably stop doing that. But I really fucking love this knife. I've actually dropped it twice already, but so far no damage to the blade. Thank goodness for that. Just think it's an absolutely beautiful blade. Absolutely love that. So next up is going to be excuse me guys, sorry. Next up is my Strider by Medford 3/4 AR. Love the way they ground this blade. Again, sucker for grind lines. Straight or flat grind here, all the way up to the tip. This is kind of ambiguous of Medford's blade style, blade grind. And then you've got a flat that comes straight out here. Opening hole in the middle, not really knocked down too much, but it's knocked down enough to where it's not really razor sharp. I like the way they have the nice big stock thickness on this guy, the jimping, very big, aggressive, grippy jimping, and then you've got Strider's symbol on this side. This is an S35VN. I really love the simplicity of this knife, along with the milling that Satu Dave had done on this scale here. Anodized bronze. You've got some big old hardware here. I believe those are T10s. And then you've got this proprietary pivot, which is actually see-through. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a see-through pivot, which is really cool. And then these studs here lock up the knife very solid with the over travel stop there. Oh, I'm sorry, there is a lanyard hole here, so that'll make the glory hole people happy. Big aggressive jimping back here, and then just this this frag patterning on the show side, just absolutely gorgeous. I do consider this to be my Strider knife in my collection. I do have an SNG, but that's a ProTech SNG, not a Strider SNG. And this one is you know made by Medford. It's a good quality knife, so I'm going with it. So that's but this is another one of my favorite knives in my collection. Got this off of Satu Dave. I will never get rid of it. Next up, we've only got 3 more guys. So 2 more classics. The Spyderco Shaman, not the Shaman, the Shaman. I really don't care, but I just think it's funny that Complex actually just says Shaman just to piss people off now, which that's so fucking awesome, I think. The Spyderco Shaman is going to always be in my favorite of my collection group, just because I think it was the first knife that I ever really fell in love with. I had really liked Spyderco's after I got into them, but never really fell in love with one until I saw the Shaman. The Shaman is just such a well-made knife. It's sturdy as hell, nice thick blade stock, aggressive jimping, this big old finger choil here. Very ergonomically friendly knife, especially for somebody with really big hands. As you can see, this is a decent sized knife, but my hand kind of consumes it entirely from the top view. Nice lanyard hole here, thank God for that. Nice stainless steel backspacer, and a lot of people have trouble with the stainless steel backspacer. I'm going to replace it with titanium. But just keep in mind, if you wanted to buy this knife and then mod the shit out of it and replace it with like a titanium or even a G10 backspacer to lighten the knife up a little bit, you're going to fuck up the balance if you do that. Titanium, probably not a big deal, but like if you get micarta or G10 scales or backspacer for it, it's probably going to fuck up the balance on the knife for you. Compression lock, another one of my favorite locking systems. I do really like nested liner locks, nested titanium liner locks. I do really love frame locks, but my favorite probably are definitely the compression lock and the button lock, depending on how well it's done. I really love button locks, but the compression lock is probably tops for me as far as safety, dependability, and comfort. Really love the compression lock, and I really love the Spyderco Shaman. I could be a spokesman for Spyderco. Plus, I love the fact that a lot of people don't know that you can front flip this guy. I think that's pretty neat, right? All right, two more. Last year's champion, the Reeve UMNUMZAAN. Love this knife. I respect it. It has to be used. You can't be used like a regular knife. Most people know that in this community. You can't just like kind of push over the crossbar and let it fall down into place. It doesn't work that way. It's hydraulic action. You've got washers in there which are keeping the blade in place, so it's not going to swing freely, but it is a smooth, consistent action, and then the detent, which allows it to rest back into place there. Very good detent on this knife, nice and crispy. I think I like the way these scales look. A lot of people want the milling to go across the entire face. But I think the way that Reeve decided to make these scales is just, I don't want to call it elegant, but it's very classy. It's got some flair to it, but it's not like, oh my god! So yeah, I really like the way that he did this knife, especially with the blade shape, the way that it is. I love the Tonto. Everybody knows that I'm a sucker for a Tonto. Sorry guys, I haven't cleaned this one in a while. This is one that lives in my pooch, so I don't clean her off very often, just because when I do put her away, I wipe it off, make sure it's nice and clean, but I don't oil it, I don't really do a lot of anything with it. But she holds up pretty well, I think. But I really love the way they do the sandblasting on the titanium here. This is S45VN steel, which I think is fantastic. I don't need MagnaCut or any of that other bullshit. And then a couple of spacers back here, just because I wanted to get rid of the lanyard hole spacer, because it was Vigelin. It was Vigelin in the knife, so I didn't want that anymore. But I really still, this is close to the top of the list for me. This is always going to be close to my heart for show. And the last one that I have to show you today is my Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon in Arctic Storm carbon fiber and black PVD coated titanium, I believe. But Brian Nadeau's knives, Brian Nadeau's design language, his style, is very prevalent throughout the knife community. A lot of people will, automatically recognize his knives, either by the pivot, the way he does his pocket clip, this detent system that he has here. He has a nice detent system that's just very responsive. It's like nothing you've ever felt before if you've never felt a Brian Nadeau ramp detent system. It's such a nice system. It gives you a completely different feel. I actually had to ask him about it, just because it felt weird to me. Like I wasn't sure what was happening. But once he explained it to me, I understood. But just a very cool blade shape, very good action, as you can see. Flipper only operated, although once in a while I can just barely catch that fuller just right. Yep, every once in a while I can reverse flick this guy. Doesn't happen very often. I'm surprised I got it the first time on camera. That's pretty neat. But yeah, you've got his little signature there, Brian Nadeau, or Nadeau, as it actually is. I can't remember who it is that calls him Brian Nadeau, but it's pretty funny. Nicely centered. This kind of looks like an integral, but it's just the way the titanium fits together. You've got a nice little lanyard post here. Thank God for that. Yeah, love Brian Nadeau's designs. I did want to get his new one that he just released recently. The Christ, what was that called? The the Darrock or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it's a warnie, and it's fucking aggressive as shit. I absolutely love the way it looks. But yeah, so this will be everything for today, guys. These are my 10 knives, my 10 favorite knives in my collection, or 10 favorite groups of knives in my collection. I will kind of ponder this for a day or two or three.